Yeah, we're on the top of Kuf Chav Gimel Amud Aleph, 123a. And we had a question we're in the middle of that when the Bechor, the firstborn, gets a double portion, so does he get just every brother gets one portion and he gets one portion and then double that portion? Or does you look at the whole estate and whatever the whole estate is, he gets 2/3 of the estate and the rest, the other third, is split amongst the brothers. So we're in the middle of bringing proof that he gets only a double portion of what the brother got. So I think we're in the second line. We just brought a verse that says, okay, so it says the Gemara, Ella ke lashon harishon. So so it says the Gemara, Omer ubenei Ruvain bechor Yisrael ki hu ha-bechor. So now we're going to get involved in Reuven. We know Reuven was the firstborn. We also know that Reuven, after Rachel passed away, so Yaakov was most frequently in the tent of Rachel, and now Yaakov moved his bed to Rachel's maidservant Bilhah, and Reuven went and switched the beds because he thought his mother was more deserving. So the pasuk says, "Bnei Reuven bechor Yisrael, ki hu ha-bechor, ubechal lo yitzui avev," and Reuven is the bechor, but ubechol yitzui avev, when he profaned the beds of his father, meaning he switched it without permission, nasna becharaso libnei Yosef ben Yisrael. Interesting, calls him ben Yisrael. The bechor was given to bnei Yosef, to the children of Yosef. I mean, it was given over to Yosef, and thereby to his children. And what it means is v'lolis yachesh lebechora, v'lolis yachesh lebechora. So it doesn't mean that we're calling Yosef the bechor. We're still going to call Reuben the bechor, but the actual portion of the bechor will be given over to Yosef. Yeah. Morning, Jared. Okay, so this is now we're gonna bring another V'omer. We're gonna ask why I have all these V'omers. V'omer, ki Yehuda gaver b'achid. Yehuda was the strongest, the leader of his brothers. Ulenagid mimenu, but he was the ruler over them. V'abechora liYosef, and once again we see that the bechora was given to Yosef. Nemra bechora liYosef, nemra bechora liDoros. The word bechora is written by Yosef, and also the word menemra bechora liDoros. The word bechora is written when it comes to the halachas of bechor, in terms of all future generations also get the bechora. So just like bechora ha'amur liYosef pishnayim ke'echad, just like Yosef got double of what the other brothers got, meaning all the brothers got a portion, Yosef got that portion then doubled. Af bechora ha'amur liDoros pishnayim ke'echad. So too, we're going to learn for all future generations that it's going to follow the same pattern as Yosef. That if someone has 5 brothers, divide the land up into 6, and then if you divide the land up into 6, so you're the oldest, so your 4 younger brothers will get 4 portions, and you will get portions 5 and 6, and that's how we divide up the bechora. Okay. One more, V'omer. I lost count how many V'omers this is, but we're going to ask all these V'omers soon. V'omer says, coming up in a number of weeks, the end of Bereshis, it says, Yaakov says, I'm going to give you Shechem Achad Alachecha. I'm going to give you one more portion, more than your brothers. Asher lakachti miyad ha'emori b'charbi u'bekashti. I'm going to give you one more portion of your brothers, which I took miyad ha'amori b'charbi u'bekashti. referring to when Dinah was abducted, I think, and Yaakov went and or it's referring to Esau's portion. Sorry. No, it's referring to yeah, when he went and he took over that whole city with Shem. So says the Gemara. So how did he take it? Becharbi with a bow, with a sword, ubekashti with a bow. Says the Gemara. V'chi becharbo v'kashto. Lakach, did he take it with a sword and with a bow? The halo kvar namar, it told us already. It told us it says in Tehillim, Kilo bekashti eftach becharbi lo soshini. There's no guarantees when you use your bow, and there's no guarantees when you use your sword. It's not how Hashem's going to save us. Ella, so meaning he took this land not only physically. That wasn't the ultimate source of why he got this piece of land. Ella charbi zutvila kashti zuba kasha. Rather, charvi, when it says sword, it's referring to tefillah. When it says kashti, it says bakasha. In fact, if you look at the Chumash inside, there in the 40th chapter of Bereshis, 22nd verse, and you look at the Unkelos was the right there Aramaic translation. So when he on the words becharbi bakashti, he's not going to translate it as a bow and as a sword, and as a bow. Rather, he's going to say bit sleusi usi. The word sleusi b'usi, which should ring a bell from tiskabel, and in Kaddish we say tiskabel sloson ubuson, right? Two different types of prayers. So really, when it says charbi akashi, the Gemara says ela charbi zu tefillah. A sword is referring to tefillah, and kashti zu bakasha. One quick explanation I heard was a sword is very sharp. The smallest little point of a sword kills somebody, right? You don't have to go do so hard. Mm-hmm. So it says that's the same as the Shemona Esrei that we say, even with not so much intent. But since the words were written by the Anshe Knesset Agadola with ultimate prophecy, so even with minimal intent, it's like a sword. It can do unbelievable things up in Shemayim. However, Bakashti is a bow. A bow will only go as far as you pull it and as you aim it, right? If you pull it a little bit, like your first time using it, probably it'll fall right in front of you on the ground, straight down, right? So that refers to a person's own personal prayers. Those personal prayers, the more you put into it, the more you will get out of it. That's a nice explanation of B'charbi B'kashti. Okay, so fine. So now the Gemara is going to go back and say, what are all these v'omers? Why do you have to have so many proofs that when it comes to the firstborn, that Yosef, when it comes to the firstborn, you're proving to us that you get double the amount of all the other brothers as opposed to 2/3 of the estate. So, Ma'i v'omer. So what's v'omer? So v'chi tema, hai l'kid Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka hu da'asla. Maybe you'll think, like we had yesterday, that the halacha accords with Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka. What did Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka say? He said that you're allowed to give all of your property to one of the sons, or you can give all the property to one of the daughters. So for that, to show us that we don't go like that, it says, Tashma u'bnei Ruvain b'chor Yisrael. It says, u'bnei Ruvain b'chor Yisrael. Yeah, meaning, the Rishmam explained that, meaning that the Bechor was supposed to be given to Ruvain, and therefore, and therefore, you can't just give it all to one brother. You have to give the firstborn to the firstborn. No, what does it say? That's what I think. Right?
Excluding.
Right.
If a person
there you go,
who would exclude the others, the entire estate, Rushman.
Correct.
General
so
rules cannot be derived from the book of
prophets. Okay, yeah, that's a side point, right?
Yeah.
No, that's that Rashbam is just saying that this verse that we're bringing is from Divrei Hayamim, from the Ksuvim, from the writings. So it's a general principle that we don't learn out things. It doesn't have the same status biblically if you learn out from the prophets.
Okay. So
that he's saying you're not learning it out from it, just showing you the definition of what a Bechor is. Okay, fine. But either way, the reason why you had the V'omer is to teach you that we do not go like Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka, that you cannot exclude the firstborn. You have to make sure he gets his portion. Okay, Fine. So that was that. So Tashma v'nei Reuven b'chor Yisrael. V'chi tema, maybe you'll say b'chora mi b'choraso lo gamrinan. If you look at the two verses, that the first verse in Devarim, it says the word. Not in Devarim, sorry. The word in Divrei Hayamim is b'chorasa, and the word by the parsha, by the section of inheritances, says b'chora. So maybe you'll tell me it's not exact Gzeira Shava. It's a similar word, but one word is b'chora and one word is b'choroso. So maybe you're going to reject that and not learn out a rule from Divrei Hayamim that the firstborn has to go. You have to give the firstborn portion to the firstborn. So on that we say Tashma v'ha-b'chora li-Yosef. So we'll use that word bechora as opposed to bechoraso, that the bechora goes to Yosef. Similarly, that you have to give the firstborn portion to the firstborn. Okay, so now back to Yosef for a second. Yosef got the firstborn after Reuven lost the firstborn. Reuven lost the firstborn seemingly because he switched the beds of his mother. Therefore, as a punishment to him, he lost the firstborn and it was given to Yosef. Yosef became the right. That's how Ephraim and Menashe got there. They're considered like the same status as the 12 tribes because of
He
this.
actually got the portion.
Yeah, he actually got the portion. Yeah, I mean Reuben's going to be called the before, but
Yeah.
it had to go to him, but then he lost it. So now, oh, okay, 1 second. Maybe not there yet. Hold on, jump the gun. The Chitema Yosef Gufe. Yeah, so Yosef himself. You're learning out from Yosef that Yaakov gave Yosef an additional portion, but how do you know that Yosef got the Pishnayim Ke'echad? Hava. How do you know that that's how Yosef got his portion? Meaning, how do you know that there was 13 brothers, they got 11, and Yosef got portion 12 and 13? Maybe Yosef got 2/3 of the whole estate, and the other 11 brothers got only 11 portions. Tashma, that's that next part. Yaakov said, I gave you one portion more than your brothers. So meaning you got whatever your brothers got, plus one portion. So from there we know that he got an extra portion. And therefore you could learn out from him how you divide up the Bechor. So it says Rav Papa to Abaye, I'm Rav Papa Abaye. It just as he gave you something more. Ima dikla ba'alma. If he gave like a little twig, a little tree. How do you know he gave you a whole portion? So Amar Le, Alecha Amar Kra. So it says, Ephraim Menashe, Kiruven Meshimon Yihiyuli. So your children, Ephraim and Menashe, should be to me like Reuven and Shimon. So for one reason is when the children get blessed Friday night, right? Say Simcha Elohim Ki Ephraim Menashe. But another reason is, I guess maybe the kids have in mind they should get a big portion. But it's
much to eat.
That's right. But it says here, Ephraim and Menashe should be like Reuven and Shimon. So you see that's how Yosef got that. He got two portions. One was given to Ephraim and Menashe. That was the same size portion as Reuven and Shimon got. So one brother Yosef got double the amount of Reuven. So after all the dust settles, the Bechor gets divided up by one more than his brother, and not 2/3 of the estate, as learned out from Yaakov's giving over to Yosef, as we see by Ephraim and Menashe. Continuing, back to Reuven. What did Yaakov see? Why did he take the Bechorah from Reuven and give it over to Yosef? Says the Gemara, Mara, what did he see? It says Reuven switched the beds. It switched the beds. So that's why he lost the firstborn. What's the Gemara asking? Okay. Reuven lost it, but you have 11 other options to give it to.
Oh, right,
How'd you choose Yosef? So, says the Gemara, interestingly, I'll tell you a parable. So, what is this similar to? To someone in their house that took in an orphan. Shagadol not only took in, raised an orphan. Shagadol yasam besoch beso. So what happened? Liyomim heshir oso yasam. After a period of time, that yasam got rich. The Amar, Ahanihu lebalabayis me nechase. Says the Yosef says, you know what? the guy did so much good for me. Let me give some back to my balabais. So too, Yaakov. Yaakov got this portion, which was now lost from Reuven, and he decided to give it to Yosef. So the Rajban fills us in because what happened when Yaakov went down to Mitzrayim? Even before that, who sustained Yaakov? Yosef sustained Yaakov. So I guess in the parable, right, Yosef sustained Yaakov. So it switches it a little bit. Yaakov is a child, so to speak, in the parable, right? But the point is that Yosef sustained Yaakov for many years in Mitzrayim. When it was time to give back to Yosef, Yaakov got rich because now he got an extra portion of Reuven. So who did he give it to? To the guy that sustained him, he will want to give back to. So that's why he chose Yosef out of the other 11 brothers, which is fascinating because the whole thing, the brothers were the one that sold Yosef down to Mitzrayim. Yosef's down there. Hashem set it up like this, right? Yosef's down there just in time for the famine to come. Oh, who's in Mitzrayim? Oh, there's some nice ruler feeding me. Oh, who is that? Yosef. And then at the end of the day, Yosef's the real winner in many ways. But he gets now that double portion. So, yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting. So, Yosef there says, you should know, he tells the brothers, it's not, it's all, it's not you who are sustaining me. I mean, don't take credit, so to speak, for me being in Mitzrayim, being second in command. It's all Hashem sustaining me. So I mean, he was one that saw the hand of God in every way. So Amar Le says the Gemara, hold on. The ilav dechata Reuven, really? If Reuven never did an aveira, so lo mahani leila Yosef, velo midam, really? So if Reuven would never have done the aveira, Yosef wouldn't get this extra portion. So meaning like this. Yaakov gave Yosef from the extra portion that he got from Reuven. It says the Gemara, if Reuven never sinned, Yaakov would have given Yosef nothing. Like even from his own property. I mean, what he only gave to Yosef now that Reuven did an aveira. Now that Reuven, well, it says, Marshal says it, you shouldn't say he sinned, but now that Reuven did what he did, only then Yaakov will give Yosef. But from his own property, he won't give anything to Yosef. Meaning Yosef doesn't deserve anything, if not for Reuven. Rather, the Rashbam says Yaakov should give from his own, not only from other people's, not only from Reuven's portion. So of course he would give from his own. He would give his own brachas, and the same way he gave a bracha to Ephraim and Menashe, right? You should be very multiple. So says the Gemara, of course Yaakov gave also from his own to Yosef. He gave special blessing to Yosef that there should never be an ayin hara, the evil eye should never set upon him, and other blessings that he got. So maybe the reason why Yaakov gave Reuven's portion to Yosef is for another reason. Meaning Yaakov gave his own blessings to Yosef, excluding this whole discussion. He gave him such special blessings. The evil eye shouldn't go on him, right? Yeah, Ben Prat Yosef, right? Ali Ayin, yeah. So maybe the reason why Yaakov gave the firstborn to Yosef was not because he sustained him. Maybe there are other reasons why Yosef was deserving. As we see, he already was unique in what he got. The other brothers never got a special blessing for no evil eye. So once you're saying he's giving to Yosef anyways from his own, so maybe now that he got this extra portion of Reuven, for a different reason he'll give to Yosef. Not because Yosef sustained him, because Yosef was deserving of it. So why was Yosef deserving on his own right of getting this extra portion? So Ella Rabbi Yonasan Rab Chalokach Amar, did you not teach us? Reuya Haisa Bechora Latzes Mi Rachel. Really, the Bechor should have came from Rachel. Okay, so at the end of the day, it didn't. We're going to see why. But really, it should go to Rachel. Rachel was destined for Yaakov. That's how it was supposed to be. Right. Really, Leah was supposed to marry Esav, because Esav was supposed to be businessman par excellence, supporting Yaakov. He failed. Yaakov had to do both now. Had to sit and learn. Had to be the physical and spiritual sustainer of the Jewish people. But really, it goes to Rachel. How do I know this, Siv? Ela told us Yaakov, Yosef. These are the offsprings of Yaakov, Yosef. Sounds like this is really the prime offspring of Yaakov was Yosef. What happened though? It didn't work out that way. Why? Ela shekad masa Leah got him first. Shekad masa Leah berachamim. I mean, she preceded it berachamim, in mercy, meaning she davened a lot. Prayers often referred to as rachamim, as mercy, right? Usually because prayer can cause things that you can get even when you're not deserving of it. You get a berachamim. Rachamim is an extra. It's like tshuva a little bit. Tshuva, you get extra mercy. So Leah preceded Rachel because of her davening. So what was that? I think the Gemara was going to say. Yeah, the Gemara was going to say. Umitoch tznius shahaisa ba berachel, but because we'll see that Rachel was such a modest woman, hechzira hakadosh baruch hu la, Hashem ended up orchestrating it that Rachel got the firstborn back. So really, Rachel was supposed to get it. Leah ended up getting it through her davening because of the unbelievable modesty of Rachel. So Hashem ended up getting it back to Rachel. Another good example of it doesn't always work with cause and effect. Sometimes the cause is just part of a bigger. Hashem wants something to happen, so he'll do a lot of things to get to his final goal. So So yeah, okay. So let's see. So this story, I believe, is much more expounded on, or not much more, somewhat more expounded on in the Medrash and Eicha, right in the beginning, talks about the unbelievable merits of Rachel. Okay, so Ma'ikad Masa Leah Berachim. What does this mean? Leah preceded Rachel, and she got to marry Yaakov Berachim, with mercy. Dichsiv, as the verse says, it says that Rachel was very. The verse says, it says that Rachel, the Eine Leah Rakos. Leah's eyes were Rakos, and Rachel was Yifas Toar, and Rachel was beautiful. So Leah's eyes were Rakos. Rakos from the word Rach, soft, maybe a little bit weaker. So the Gemara is not sure what's this word mean. It's also what's the contrast to Rachel. Mm-hmm. Rachel is beautiful and Leah is what? Leah is ugly. That's not the way the Torah speaks. Right. And we'll see it's a proof from this week's parsha. Okay, Ma'i Rakos. What does Rakos mean? Ilema Rakos Mamish. You say her eyes are just weak and watery. And then basically what the Torah is saying is Leah was not so pretty because, her eyes. And Rachel knew where to shop for makeup and was much more beautiful, right? That's obviously not what the Torah is saying. Efshar beganus behema tmeya lo dibra kasu. This week's parsha, you learn my Rebbe used to always talk about this. You learn a tremendous lesson in this week's parsha, tucked away, how to speak properly. What does it say in Parshas Noach? Dichsiv min habehema tahora, talking about the animals that should go into the ark. It says you should take from the kosher animals. Tahora doesn't only mean pure, it also means kosher animals. Min habehema tahora, from the kosher animal. Umin habehema, so what would we say? We would say min habehema hatmeya, tahora and tam, right? Tar v'tameh, pure, impure, kosher, not kosher. But the Torah says mina behema tahora, umina behema asher einenu tahora. So this is really a Gemara Psachim, that the Torah will use more words to speak cleaner. And the Gemara there asked them a million questions on it from other places throughout Tanakh, but okay, not a million, Steve, whatever, a few places. But what do you see? The Torah could have said tmeya, but instead it added the words asher einenu tahora, 3 extra words that were added to the Torah. Why? To teach you that you don't say the animals were kosher and not kosher. It's not so nice. You say they were kosher animals, and there were also animals that well, I guess in English is bad. It doesn't work in English. No. I just realized in English it's kosher and not kosher. That's good. Yeah, the other animals, right? But in Hebrew, Tameya has implications that aren't so nice. And who are you talking about? Animals. And yet the Torah felt by an animal. It's when it's speaking, so to speak. No pun intended. Yeah, when talking about animals, so it says it goes out of its way to say there were the pure animals, the kosher animals, and also animals that weren't so pure, right? So what do you see? So it says the Gemara, if about a behema it talks like that. Begnus tzadikim diber akasav. You think the Torah is going to talk about the detriment of tzadikim? If by an animal that's not kosher, it'll speak properly about tzaddikim like Leah, it's for sure going to speak properly. So, yeah. So Ella. So what must it mean? What does Rakos mean? By the way, the verse at the end of Ruth says that Rachel and Leah, the verse says Ruth gets a blessing. She'd be like Rachel and Leah, who built the Jewish people. It's not just a tzedekah. This is Bereshis is the founding blocks. I mean, the foundations of all of Judaism was primarily through Rachel and Leah. So for sure, we're not going to speak negatively about them. Ela Amar Abelazar she matnoseha arukos. So the presents that she got were aruchos. So the word rakos right now, you add an aleph in it. It's arukos. It's referring to things that are long, lengthy. What does that mean? Doesn't say, but I think the Rambam's going to fill in. What did Leah get? Leah got kahuna. The Kohanim came from Leah. The Leviim came from Leah. The kings came from Leah. Her gifts, her children who were gifts to her. Those tribes, they had longevity, aruchos, lengthy. There was longevity to them. So that's what it means. Leah, well, her eyes were long, were long, meaning that I think they point out in the footnote that what is that?
Use the word teary.
Teary. So
I don't know.
they were soft because of the tears.
Okay.
That's what it was. But we're saying now it doesn't mean that. It means long. So I think they point out in the footnote that the leaders of the Jewish people are called the Einei Ha'eda, the eyes of the congregation. Such a verse later in Bamidbar. So it says here her eyes were long. What it means is the eyes is a reference to the leaders, right? Which makes sense. They're the ones that are guiding. Same with the eyes often guide us, or as Rashi tells us by the Shema, they either can guide you or they could be the agents of Avera. It says your eyes, eyes always looking out to help you, to make you do an Avera. So you got to be careful what you look at. But either way, they were long. Why? Because her gifts, her kahuna Leviah, the firstborn, the kahuna Leviah and the kings all came from Leah. So just food for thought. Now, what's the contrast to Rachel? And Rachel was beautiful. According to this, what's the contrast of that? Leah had very long gifts, longevity, and Rachel was yifas mara, and Rachel was beautiful. Her gifts didn't last. Okay, so that's stay tuned. Stay tuned for that parsha. It's one of my favorite Divrei Torah. Okay, I say that about a lot of things, but this time I mean it. Okay, so Rav Amar no leolam rakos mamish. Really, her eyes were watery, soft, teary. So, but that is a big problem. Why would the Torah talk about her in a negative way? Says the Gemara right away, velo kinai hula. No, not every time the eyes are watery, it's because it's a negative thing. Ella shvachula, it's an unbelievable thing that her eyes were watery. Why? Shahaisa shoma'as, she would be listening al prashas drachim on the by the crossroads. It's the place where everyone used to cross through, the fork in the road. People would go, imagine, I don't know, in Israel, right in Meir Sharm, they have the big Kikar Shabbos. You have a million people going in 4 different directions. Maybe Times Square like that. It's a place where people are always crossing the crossroads. That's where the heavy traffic was when the big streets intersected, like the intersection, I guess. Okay, so what did she hear? She was there, and either she was hanging out there, or when she would walk by there to go somewhere, she would hear the following: B'nei Adam shahayu omrim. People, you want to know what were they gossiping about back in the day? What were they tweeting about? About this. B'nei Adam were saying shahayu omrim shnei banim yeshel Rivka. Rivka has, everyone knew, she has 2 sons. Shtei banos yeshel Lavan. And Lavan has 2 daughters. Gedola legadol v'ktana lekatan. The oldest one, Yaakov, is going to go to Rachel. And the youngest one, Leah, will go to the younger son, Esav. So what did she do? So she could have accepted her destiny and now it's it. But instead, she stayed in the place where she heard this news. Umashelis, and she would ask, 1 second, Gadol Mama Esav. 1 sec. How is Lavan's firstborn son? What's he like? Big tzaddik, he's very righteous. They said, not exactly. Ishrahu, he's a terrible person. He's an evil man. He's melastem es abrios. He robs people. Some add in, he knew how to trap people with his mouth. So, I don't know why they only said that. Maybe they didn't know, but he's also a killer and a murderer. He did a lot of things. The Gemara says that day he bought the birthright from Yaakov, 5 things happened. So some of them involved killing, but some of them involved denying the whole Torah. It says he denied the revival of the dead. He was kofar and Hashem. He denied Hashem. Okay, but this is what they told her, that he's going to be a robber. Melastem es abrios. So then she asked, well, how about the younger son? Katan ma ma'asav? Ah, he's great. Ish tam yoshev haolam. He's a wholesome man. He sits in his tents and he learns. So Leah was not happy about this. V'haisa bocha. She was crying. She was crying until what happened? Acha nishru riseina, until I think it's her
Eyelashes.
or eyelashes. I was going to say eyebrows. Until I guess the eyelashes makes more sense. It's closer to the eyes. The eyelashes fell out. Eyelashes fell out. So this is really a positive sign. Someone who davens this hard for something, they get special praise. Her eyes were watery. It really means soft. Rak means soft, but they were soft from all the tears in a positive way. Now, it's interesting. It's not the most positive thing. It's basically a hint that she was destined for Esav, but the point is that how much she davened so hard that her eyelashes fell off.
She had a high moral standard.
Yeah, that's right. It is interesting that it sounds like the one thing she heard was that he was going to be a robber.
Yeah.
A ben sorer umora, the wayward son. So what big avera did he do? Okay, he had a little meat and he had a little wine, but he would be there robbing people. And the Gemara there says someone who robs people is going to come to do much worse. He's going to come to do much worse of theirs. Interesting. Stealing. Oh, just popped into my head. This week's parsha, the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, the world was destroyed. At the end of the day, why? What was the final seal? It would steal from each other even less than a Sheva Pruta's worth. Right? Stealing means that the world was built on chesed. Olam chesed, you wanted to give to other people. Stealing is the exact opposite. It means I have no respect for you. I have no respect for your property. Everything I have is not good enough for me. So it's a whole total diversion of what the Hashem wanted the world to be. Therefore, he had to destroy it and start again. Because you cannot. So it's interesting how bad stealing really is. Okay. So says the Gemara. So okay, so her eyelashes fell out. And that's what the verse says when it says Vayar Hashem ki snua leah. Hashem saw that she was hated. So what does it mean? Mai snua. What do you mean she was hated? Ilay masnua mamish. The Torah is telling you, by the way, Yaakov hated her. She was the hated wife. What does that mean? Efshar begnus behemoth tmei lo dibra kasav begnus adikim dibra kasav. Could it be that by a non-kosher animal the Torah doesn't speak that way, and by tzaddikim the Torah does speak that way? Ella must be Ra Kadosh Baruch Hu Shesnu in Ma'asav Esav. When it said that Leah was hated, what it means is the one destined for Leah, that his actions were hateful to her, meaning she hated the fact that Esav was a robber, Bifaneha. And what happened? Vayiftach es Rachma, and he opened up her womb. Vayiftach es Rachma. And therefore the Rashbam says she was Zocha, she merited the firstborn. He opened up her womb and gave her the firstborn son. Meaning really the firstborn son should have been Rachel's. Yosef all along should have been the firstborn son. But he saw this, and therefore Hashem, sort of, so to speak, gave her nechama. He comforted her by having her womb open up first. But what happened? Hashem made it that Rachel got it back at the end of the day. Why? She was such a tenuah. So it's interesting. Even though Rachel was destined for Yaakov, but still, it's almost like she earned it. She was, because of her tznius, that she had to earn the firstborn, even though she was destined for Yaakov. So it sounds like, I don't know, was she going to get it anyways, or I don't know. It sounds like almost that tznius is what caused it. It sounds like she had to earn it, even though it was destined for her, but she had to also earn it in some way. So what was the tznius? What was her incredible modesty that got the firstborn given back to her? What was the tznius that Rachel exhibited? When Yaakov wanted to marry Rachel, so what did he tell her? Yaakov told Rachel, Ki achi aviyahu. He said, you should know I am the brother of your father. Now that's not true. V'chi ben Rivkahu. What does that mean? Yaakov was the son of Rivka. So v'chi ben Rivkahu, v'halo ben achos aviyahu. Yaakov, when Yaakov's talking to Rachel, he's not Lavan's brother. Rather, he's Rivka's son. Rivka, so really he's a first cousin. Rivka was the sister of Lavan, and Yaakov, and Yaakov was her son. So it wasn't her uncle, it was her cousin. V'halo ben achos aviyahu. Yaakov is the son of the sister of her father. So why does it imply that Yaakov was the brother of her father? What does it mean Yaakov was the brother of Lavan? It's not true. He wasn't. Ella Amar La like this. Mincivusly, he said, you want to get married to me? So I guess the first recorded proposal. Yeah, Amar Le in. I do. But she said, Mihu, just be careful. Mihu Abba Ramahu. My father's a trickster. Lavan's a trickster. Below Yachaltale, so I'm not able to, because you think you're working for me the 21 years, whatever, I guess the original 7 years, you should know he's going to trick you and he's going to give you my sister. He's not going to give you me. So Amarla, Mayra Musa, he said, how is he a trickster? So Amarle, she said to him, Isle Akta de Kashishamina, there's a sister which was older than me, Velo min Savali Mikama. He's not going to allow the younger sister to get married before the older sister. So he's going to tell you, you work for Rachel, and then he's going to give you Leah. That's how my father. So says Yaakov, even though he's an Ish Tam, we just said he's a totally wholesome person. Mm-hmm. Trickery is the opposite of his DNA. However, when it comes for, doing things that you have to do, you can even go directly against your nature. Amar Le, don't worry. Achiv ani baramaos. I'm a brother to Lavan in trickery. He's a trickster. I'm a trickster too. Don't worry. I can play trickster with trickster. You don't have to worry. Amar Le, says the Gemara, what? Mi sharlu tzadiki l'skuiber musa. Tzadikim can act with trickery. It's like the opposite of a tzaddik. What does that mean? You can't just trick people and lie to people. So it says, sometimes you could. Why? So says the verse in Shmuel, Im navar titabar ve'im ikesh titapal. With a wise person, you act with wisdom, and with a crooked person, you act with crookedness. So sometimes when a person's being crooked to you, you have to be crooked back to him. So it's interesting, the way Yaakov got all the blessings was all through an act of trickery, right? He tricked his father to get he tricked. So a person can do things that even are against his nature when if that calls for it. Okay, says the Gemara. So let's keep going. So what happened? Masar la simanim. So there Masar la simanim. So Yaakov gave over special signs to Rachel. I'll give you special signs, and that way I'll know that the wedding night that it's you. Whatever the signs, I don't know what the signs were. Whatever the signs were, he gave only Rachel the special signs. But what happened? Kika ma'ayli l'leya. It came the night of the wedding, and they were supposed to be together, Rachel and Yaakov. But Rachel was so sensitive to Leah and Savar Hashta Michsava. My sister will be embarrassed. Achtoi. So what'd she do? Masatinu nihala. Rachel gave over special signs to Leah. And that way Yaakov will think that he's really being with Rachel, but really it's going to be with Leah. The Hainu Diksiv, and that's what the verse says, Vahiba Boker Vahinehi Leah. And the morning came, and behold, it was Leah. So what do you mean? Michlal da'ad hashta lav Leahi. Until now, it wasn't Leah. What does that mean? Ela mitoch simanim shemasal Yaakov Rachel masarta leleah lo haviyadala ad hahi shaita. Because of the signs that Rachel gave over to Leah, Yaakov really thought it was Rachel the whole time until the simanim were given over from Rachel to Leah. So all of a sudden in the morning, I guess when he can see, all of a sudden he saw that it was Leah and not Rachel. So because of this act of tznius that Rachel did, she was zocha. She merited back the firstborn. Okay, let's start the next thing. So ba minei Abba Khalifa karui mirab Chia bar Abba. So he says now. He says, you find that there were 70 people that went down to Egypt. But when it says 70, when you count it, it's 69. So he says, don't worry. Amrle to Uma Haiseim Dina. Dina was the daughter of Yaakov. And with Dina was born a twin. Ve'es Dina Bito, the extra word ve'es. Ve'es, and she had a twin that was born. That's how you got to 70. Says the Gemara, really, whenever it says ve'es, it means it's going to be a twin. Elam ata tuma Haiseim Binyamin. So then Binyamin also had a twin. Turning the page, Dichsiv as Binyamin Achiv ben Imo. So it says the Gemara, well, that's not true. So Amar Mar. So he says like this: Amar Margalis Tuva Haisa Biyadi Vatan Vakish of the Miveni. Such a beautiful pearl you had in your hands of who was the 70th person. Yeah, every piece of Torah is a pearl. So even to figure out who the 70th person was a pearl in my hands, and you were gonna, not tell it to me. So who was the 70th person? Al Rabbi Chama bar Chanina zu Yocheved. It was such a pearl because it wasn't so clear. Sheharasa b'derech leidasa ben hachomos. Yocheved was in utero on the way down, so she was conceived already on the way down to Egypt. But leidasa, her birth was right, like we had this earlier, was right on the borders. Leidasa bein hachomos, right in between the walls. Shenemar asher yalda osa levi b'mitzrayim. She was born. The birth was to Levi in Mitzrayim. Leidasa b'Mitzrayim, but ve'ein harasa b'Mitzrayim, but not the conception. That was not in Mitzrayim. So bo minei Rabbi Chelbo Meir of Shmuel bar Nachmani, it says ksiv vayikasha yalda Rachel es Yosef. So it says when Rachel gave birth to Yosef. So what does the verse say? The verse says, Yaakov said. One second. So it says that Yaakov will go his way. It says one second. Yaakov told Lavan, send me away. I'm gonna go to my place and to my land. So why all of a sudden now that Yosef was born, he wanted to leave the house of Lavan? Ma'ishna ki yisel Yosef. Why all of a sudden when Yosef was born did Yaakov want to leave Lavan? What happened? Amar Lei, it says, he told him back, Ra Yaakov Avinu, Yaakov, our forefathers saw, She'ein Zara Shel Esav, that the offspring of Esav are going to be Nimser Ella Biyad Zara Shel Yosef. The only person who's going to be able to conquer the descendants of Esav, as we're going to see, it's going to be talking about Amalek, is going to be the offspring of Yosef. Only Yosef will be able to conquer Amalek. Shenemar, how do I know? The Haya Beis Yaakov Eish, the house of Yaakov was fire. Who Beis Yosef, the house of Yosef, was Lahava, was a flame. Who Beis Esav Lekash, and the house of Esav was straw. So from the fire is going to come a flame, and the flame is going to burn up the straw. So since he saw that this is going to happen, he realized it was time to go to fulfill this,